Our next two guests, former rugby players Damian Browne and Fergus Farrell, attempting a remarkable feat this year. They're planning to row across the Atlantic. It's 5,000 kilometres. It's New York to Galway. It's unsupported, and we're going to be speaking to them in just a couple of moments' time. Before that, take a look at this clip from Lorcan Hines' short film called The Row.
The accident left me completely paralysed from the waist down. The surgeon put his hands on my shoulder and said I may never walk again. This is my new reality.
If you don't have doubts, confusion, chaos, it's not a challenge. There has to be striving, drive, but there also has to be doubts. That's challenge.
I knew in my gut I'd walk again. I had to keep pushing myself, inching forward.
I saw someone who wouldn't give up on himself. That's what builds strength. That's what builds character.
Step by step, you'll be amazed where that can bring you.
2 years after he was told he would never walk again, Fergus Farrell has walked across Ireland for charity.
Now I understand why Damo does what he does.
There's a drive within me that I want to take on those challenges.
Challenge forges you. When you embrace the storm and do something that scares you, you grow. We're rowing 3,000 nautical miles from New York to the west of Ireland, unsupported.
New York to Galway. The challenge of a lifetime.
Damian, Fergus, good morning to you. Come on in, Galway. Have we got you, lads?
How you doing?
We have indeed, yes.
How's the form? I've just been looking at a clip from your video there, The Row, and it's bloody impressive, and what you're doing is bloody impressive. Damian, kick us off. You're well used to this madness.
What number room you have? Whoa! What number room
Fergus is in Houston
112.
Station there, or Galway main station by the sounds of things. We're struggling to get out of the starting blocks here, but we'll get motor, and we're all good. We're all good. Damian, kick us off. This is your latest challenge. Is it 3 months out?
Yeah, we're just kind of coming up to 3 months exactly. Yeah, hopefully we don't exactly have a start date because it's all weather dependent, and getting away from New York is quite tricky, you know. So it'll literally be like a couple of days beforehand we'll know, but we'll be ready to go by kind of mid-May. May 18th is the day we have in our head, and we'll be ready to kick off. And whenever we get that window, we're going to put the head down and do our best to get away from that landmass as quickly as possible and out into deep water.
How long does it take you to row 5,000 kilometres across wild seas?
How long is a piece of string? It depends again, like it's all weather dependent, right? Like, so the fastest it's ever been done is 55 days, 13 hours.
I think Fergus is going to have to shift venue there by the looks of things, so we might let him away, and I think, Damian, we'll break it there for a second, and we'll get you back up in the line, because we've both coming through the same system, so we'll have to hit restart on that, and we'll do that in just a moment and get the two lads back on up. What they're doing is unbelievable, and I'm sure people will be very much aware of Damian's background in challenges at this point. It's been literally the journey he's been on has been really very impressive, and I was listening again last night to the podcast that he recorded at base camp in Everest, where he had to hit stop on his plan to climb Mount Everest. He had picked up COVID, it was last year, and it was a podcast that I'd highly recommend you checking out. But he's obviously addicted to this stuff, and it's not, he's not his first rodeo.
No, like, it's just a complete different mindset, isn't it? The people who manage to go and
not for you or I own, I think is what you're saying. This is
definitely not for me.
And it's the thing is, like, we all got those sort of like mad mates who are like, oh, I had one of my mates on to me last year saying that he was planning on cycling around Ireland. I'm like, yeah. I mean, I think what happens is, in that context, you kind of commit to it, don't you? You're like, before you know it, you're like all signed up. You're ready for a road. What is it we're doing again? Oh, 5,000 kilometres across the Atlantic. Oh, well, that might be a bit of a challenge. And as Damian has spoken about as well, it's obviously bringing it into his hometown, which must be part of the appeal as well. So we will come back to that in a few moments' time. In the meantime, there's lots going on across the back pages. We have Damian on the line. Great. Damian, how are you getting on? You're back with us.
I'm back, lads. Sorry about that.
All good. All is good. All is good. Come here. Talk to us a little bit about the challenge that's ahead. That's one that's going to do wonders for us on YouTube. You can be sure of it.
Right.
Tommy Bow and his 10 siblings won't have a patch on that one. Talk to us about. I just mentioned the word addicted there, about your career in extreme challenges. Do you see it in those terms, or how do you view your thirst for this sort of stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, there's definitely a like addictive. You could describe it that way. You could use other words like a calling or a pull or like a deep drive to explore like the kind of inner corners of myself through physical and mental challenge and endurance. But yeah, this one is right up there. Like, this one is kind of one I see as a kind of legacy piece for me, in terms of, I get to actually do something or connect something with where not only my country, where I was born and bred, but also the town I grew up on, right? So we get to row from New York across the North Atlantic Ocean into the centre, basically into Galway docks, sometime in kind of July, possibly August, depending on what sort of weather we get. The goal is to break the world record, which is 55 days, 13 hours. But that's just a goal. Like, if Mother Nature decides that, she's going to hit us with storm after storm after storm, there's not much we can do about that, But for now, anyway, we have every intention, and everything we do is to go for that record. And if given the chance, hopefully give it a good shot.
You've had your boat built and you're in possession and you're out practicing in it, and what it's a bit of a mix of the old and the new, is that right?
Yeah, so it's we just got it on Monday, and we're over the moon with it. Basically, it was over the last 13 months. It's been crafted very slowly, but crafted in Devon in the UK by a guy called Justin Adkin from Sea Sabre, and he's a traditionalist in how he sets up his boats. So there's a couple of different ways you can set up the boat. Basically, what that means is how you position the cabins, and he positions the cabins as the original ocean rowers would have done it. That means that they're not really they're not making the most of the weather conditions. They're just there for basically a refuge during big weather. And I kind of align with his philosophy and his I suppose his the way he thinks and all that sort of stuff. So I'm all for it. It's called pure class, so it's doing it like basically like the traditionalists would have done it, and so it's not making the thing that is already very hard any easier. You know, it's basically the hardest way you can do it. And then what we've done is something that's quite innovative. It's never been done in ocean rowing before. So as a pair, normally the two rowers would row in front and behind each other, but we've set the boat up so we can row side by side just with one oar each. And we feel that our physical and mental capacities are going to make the boat faster by rowing like that. So we, you know, what often happens, and what I noticed on my last Atlantic crossing, was that the boat pitches so much, it's been pitched and tossed, right? That like when you have two oars, it's not impossible, sorry, but the percentage of times you get two oars in the water is really, really low, like for big, full, powerful strokes. Whereas if we just have one oar to concentrate on, we don't have to worry about that peripheral vision. We can just concentrate on placing the oar in the water. So that means hopefully we can get really powerful strokes. And if you're doing 1.5 million strokes, that adds up, right? Every stroke counts, you know, and particularly when you're going for a world record. So that's the theory. So we'll see how that plays out.
Well, and like, because one of the things I was interested in is like, what happens if, and I wasn't aware that you were going with that method of it. What happens if one of you gets injured or one of you gets sick, or is it all in or all out?
No, we also have the option, and this is kind of the innovative piece. We can and will row as individuals with two oars, but we have these like kind of we have 3 positions on the boat. Right. So that as an individual, you have the one position in the middle of the deck, and then if we row together, we have 2 more seats either side of that, and then we just have these kind of swinging arms where the oars extend further out into like an outrigger on a Olympic rowing boat or whatever. So so it's all so we'll mix that up, you know. When we have really good and bad conditions, we'll probably both get on the oars and try and make the most or try and limit the damage. And then when we kind of get into a bit of a groove, we'll probably row individually for long periods of, like, I'm talking days in a row, you know.
Right. 55 days at sea is an incredibly long period of time. What do you do when you're out there? Like, are you talking? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you listening to the sea? What's going on?
Yeah, very simple life, right? Row, eat, sleep, and look after yourself. That was. I obviously did one of these before, and I was alone, so I didn't really have anyone to talk to. And I made a big mistake in terms of not bringing any headphones. You know, there was a speaker system on the boat, and I'd never actually. I bought a load of audio books and podcasts, or downloaded them at least before I was to leave, and then like day 4, I was like, okay, now I'll crack into the first audio book here, and turned it on, and my heart dropped straight away when I realized I couldn't hear the narration over the wind. And having no headphones, that was like 10 audiobooks were just like basically completely useless to me. So myself and Gussie, you know, obviously we'll learn from that, and you know, we'll have, I suppose, you know, we can talk to each other. I don't know how we're going to fill 55 days or more worth of chat, but you know, I'm sure there'll be some pretty shallow chat and some maybe even some profound stuff coming up.
And I know, having listened to your podcast again last night, from your ultimately, I mean, the word is totally wrong, but it's the only word that comes to my mind, failed attempt at Everest, and how much that the trauma that was involved, I suppose, with that. And you spoke at that point about the importance of the support network and the quality of the support network. Are you doing this unsupported?
Yeah, we are completely unsupported. Yeah, so when we leave New York, apart from like maybe we have a documentary crew following us, and maybe, you know, a few like people who want to kind of see us off, like they'll apart from those people, and maybe for a day they might follow us, but after that we're totally unsupported. We have everything we need to survive on the boat, from start to finish, you know. So we have all our dehydrated food, snacks, and we have a desalinator as well to what they call make water, or you know, suck up the seawater and run it through a load of filters to give us drinkable water. And that's us. No support from start to finish. So it's a very kind of it's a very free way, I find, to find yourself in these places. Very free way to do like expeditions.
Yeah. What's the plan if something goes wrong? Hopefully not, obviously, but I'm sure you have plans in place for what's the emergency red button plan?
Well, by maritime law, like, so say the worst case scenario, and we have to be rescued for some reason. By maritime law, as long as if you SOS, the nearest vessel has to come by and aid you in a rescue. Yeah, so in terms of that, like, that's a huge safety net, and we'll have all sorts of beacons. So we'll have one on literally wear one called a personal locating beacon, a PLB, and then we'll have another thing called an EPIRB, and then we have SOS on our sat phones. So you're pretty kind of connected in terms of to the system that can save you if the worst case scenario was to come about.
And obviously I'm asking a lot of questions here about worst case scenario, and I'm hoping that and we're all be supporting you along the way, that none of that comes into play. Did I read that you're going to be attached to the boat, in the sense that it'll be obviously extremely choppy out there, and that's your best method of hanging on to it? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, no, we like, that is the number one safety protocol, and that's something you just do not mess with.
Yeah.
Like, so the split second you exit that cabin onto deck, we'll either be wearing a climbing harness, or we'll have our life jacket on, which also has a harness around it, and you'll have a line then coming out of either of those harnesses, and then you clip that in straight away to another line, a thing called a jack stay on the boat. So that's your one point of contact. Whatever happens, you have one point of contact with the boat, and that's, I can't over exaggerate how important that is, because as long as you're in contact with the boat, you're safe. Like, but if the second you're not, you're incredibly, like, unsafe. And basically, if you are detached from the boat, unless it's a really, really calm day, I mean, that's it. It's game over. Because you can't just turn these boats around and row back. Right. Like, the current is taking you one way, and you're just swept in that current away. So So that's something we drill. Even if it's sunny and calm, you still clip in all the time.
How does the feeling of diving into the deep end here compare with, say, going up Everest? Is it a completely different sense of trepidation?
Well, because I've done it before, I remember when I was lining up to push away from the dock and out into, like, what was then the unknown. Like, I was so discombobulated is the best way I can put it. Disorganized mentally. There was so many things going through my head. I really couldn't get any kind of presence, any kind of concentration. But this time I don't really have that. I have a pretty clear plan what we're going to do on the first 36, 48 hours, like, to get away from, like I said, that kind of North American landmass, which is really difficult and challenging. And then it's just a case of, it's just this incredibly relentless grind, like, just constantly be challenged by the ocean in many different ways, particularly psychologically, and it's just about being able to control, like, have some sort of organization and control of what your mind does when you get into weak mental states.
What, like, you have techniques, have you?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, basically, I've kind of developed my own stuff through, like, through my journey as an adult in professional rugby and now in extreme adventures. And it's all about, staying present. So basically there's the two kind of steps to that. When you are future focused or outcome orientated or distracted in some way, so first thing that's going to flag that for you is your self-awareness. Like, so if you're not aware, you can't change it. So you have to become aware of your state that you're in. And then secondly, it's just about redirecting your mind into a neutral or a positive state. And you do that through concentrating on something that's within your control. And I have a method called the 4 controllables. So in physical endeavors, in physical pursuits, there's 4 things that you can always control, no matter how stressed you are, no matter how negative, no matter how doubtful, no matter how distracted or dark or chaotic you are mentally. These things are always within your control if you can bring your concentration to the act of doing them, and they are your body position and technique. So in this case, rowing, and that body position through the rowing stroke, your effort, so how much effort you're putting through a part of your body. So just bring your concentration concentration to your grip or to your upper back or to your quad, and concentrating on literally on the effort that you are producing or generating in that place, in that body area. Your breath, that is always within your control, and if you can bring your concentration to it, you become present. And breath also has a strong link to the parasympathetic nervous system, so it also calms you in those states. And then your self-talk, again, always within your control. And when you are concentrated on what you're saying to yourself, and on the act of what you're saying to yourself, you redirect your mind to the present, and you cannot be stressed, you cannot be anxious, you cannot be doubtful. When you are present, you can just be present.
Yeah, it's an awesome challenge, and we've only got a bit of a flavour of it there this morning. We'll get Fergus's story again, and we will definitely be checking in. You have a long time before you set off. I know that a big part of it for you is the emotional aspect of coming back into Galway as well, so we've a huge amount more that we'll touch on again. But for the minute, Damian, best of luck with the prep. Catch up with you down the track.
Fair play, lads. Thanks a lot.